Person defense, we talked about being tight. We talked about that you have this opportunity to do the poach from the break side dump. I'd say that these are sort of the, in my opinion, like the best defensive tactics, person defensive tactics indoor. And then there are a few additional smart things which smart players should do, and you should also try to get better at those. We should do on top. Yes, you play person-person defense, but then sometimes there's an opportunity to do something smart, maybe individually or maybe together with a teammate, and then you should do that. So just listed it here. So whenever your player is not a threat, you can try to help your teammates. So that means that if your player is jogging all the way behind the disc. They are not even actively taking their right dump position. I mean, don't be with that player. Doesn't matter if the disc goes to them, go and help somewhere around the cutters or somewhere when there's a more threat. Or maybe your player is cutting deep, and then, throw is not going up, and then they continue running an extra 5 meters in the end zone. Like you have already covered, like if the throw goes up, you're going to guard them anyway. Just to make sure we're on the same page. So. Thank you. So when there's this player going deep, and you're guarding them behind, and then instead of turning around here where there's still a threat everywhere, like they keep running into this spot while the disc is, let's say, somewhere here. And you don't need to go and follow them anymore. Like as long as you are here, you are guarding them. If the disc goes up, you are able to cover every single square meter of that end zone. Stop following them. If they decide to go there and the disc is all the way here, don't guard them here, like be somewhere here. Okay? Help out. If some other players trying to run to these spaces, you can maybe go and make a play. Or a player is going towards the sideline and runs out of the field or something. Don't follow them, right? Be in the field, be in the play. So sometimes you are defending a player that is for maybe even just 1 second not a threat. Like try to use it. See if you can help out the team in that second, or maybe it's even 5 seconds, and then do that. So do those things even though you're playing tight person-person defense. Of course, sometimes it makes sense to do some smart switches. One player goes deep, one player goes under. You're here 2 defenders. You just switch the players between yourselves because it just makes sense to do that. And then, perhaps the most beneficial, if sort of the disc is somehow standing or almost standing, and you have a chance to do some clams. We talked about that this end zone clam, has some disadvantages, but this is an example of how you could do a clam. I don't know. Does anyone know why it's called a clam? It's like, what is this? So you're basically like you're sort of covering the stack or whatever in a clam. Anyway, a clam. You have some kind of a poachy zony set up for a small part. Or like especially nice is when you play against 3-person vertical, right? I think some of your teams are using a 3-person vertical stack. This went out of bounds or pool went out of bounds, and often starts like this, right? It's just really hard for me to see when a team is just like defending like this. I mean, this is a huge opportunity to make it really tough for offense, right? So make an arrangement. One of you says, "Hey, I'm deep. Hey, I'm the first under. Hey, I'm the second under." And then, if this player goes deep, then you switch. Or if this player comes under, you switch. And maybe this player goes under, they follow as the second one. Like this can be very powerful, and it can be really hard for the offense because they are starting from a standing disc, and then their first options are taken, and then they need to go for their dump. And indoor, there's only 8 seconds, so a lot can happen. So of course, do these clams if you can at the right times as well, even though it's a person-person defense. Then there were a few questions I got ahead of time. Thank you for those who sent those. So one question about defense was how to defend versatile players. I don't think there's a very easy answer to that. If an offense player has very many different ways to beating you, but sort of the mindset would be such that first you learn how to defend sort of different ways. So you learn how to defend against someone coming under, you learn how to defend against someone going deep, you learn how to defend against the dump, going under or going up the line. You sort of learn all these individual setups, and then you play against a player that will know how to do all of these things and will always do what gives them the most advantage. Then what you as a defender should do is that you try to make sure that you take away their plan A. Okay, so that is your job. If they have, they can beat you in 10 different ways, take that away that they are the best at. Okay, take that thing away, so let them beat you with something else. So, I don't know, who is very, very fast? Som is very fast, right? So Som is very fast, he likes to go deep.
No, under.
Under?
Only
Okay,
under.
no, never mind, that's a bad example. Who likes to go deep here? Who goes deep a lot? Anyone?
Sorry.
Okay, Santa. Okay, Santa goes deep a lot, right? So if I'm guarding Santa, I make sure that I'm standing on the deep side. So let Santa go under. Or if Lauri likes to go deep, or Jakob likes to go deep, I stay on the deep side, so let's make them go under. Like, who always likes to come under and get the disc? Som, okay? So stay under Som, okay? Let Som go deep.
Not possible.
Because he will still try to go under.
And I will go.
And
I will get it.
you'll get it. So yeah, I don't know how good of an answer is that, but you need to learn how to defend these different ways and then take away their plan A and make them beat you with plan B. And if you are really good and you can take away their plan A and B, then let them do that, and then let them beat you with plan C if they can. Then there was a question how to teach defense to know where the disc is and not only the player. So I think here, again, you need to teach the theory first. So you need to teach the player. So if you are guarding someone in the end zone, where you should be, okay? So this is here, where you should be. You should be so that you can see the player and the disc. So that means you should be here on this back shoulder, okay? You can see the player, you can see the disc. They can't beat you. You shouldn't be here, right? Because you can't see both of them. You only see one of them. And good team will take advantage and put it where you're not ready. You shouldn't be here, you shouldn't be here. The right place to be is here. Right? When you are guarding an open side dump, where should you be? You should be here. Okay? So that with the corner of your eye, you see the disc. You know when the disc is going up. So if the disc is being thrown here, it's not a surprise. It's not, oh, okay, now he got the disc. You actually saw from the corner of your eye the player with the disc starting to make that throw and putting it up there. And because you were so ready, you even got and intercepted it. Okay? So that is the place to be. When you defend here, number one, okay, what is the place to be? Now that can depend a little. Maybe you have an agreement that you really focus on unders because you get held deep. Okay, that's a tough one. Now you need to put yourself here a bit under, and you probably need to swivel your head a little bit. Okay, you're seeing, I see some, okay, I see this, I see them both. Okay, you need to know where to be in different spots. That is step number one. And then you need to do a lot of reps to keep doing that all the time. Okay, you need to practice it in games, you need to practice it in drills, but you can also practice it in drills where you focus on this, right? So you could have a drill where, let's say, you are defending a player, and there are two players here, and this player has the disc. Whatever. Let's say there's a mark as well. So you need to be in one spot a little bit, and then they throw to another player, and then you need to adjust your position, and then they throw back and forth, back and forth. So you can mimic this, what happens in a game, in that way that you change the position of the disc, so that when you are here, then you need to reposition yourself a little bit to make sure you are able to see your offense player and you're able to see the disc. Okay. Or what you can do is you can have, you can have the disc here, and then you can have a box here, and then you can say, okay, this offense player can move around now. So now the cutter you are defending is moving around, and then you are trying to all the time reposition yourself so you can see the player and the disc. And then you can make it next level if you want after that to make it really hard. Then you can also allow to move the disc in between two players, while this player has also the freedom to move. And you go next level, and in the end it's game, right? So you can sort of break it down in this way. But you need to know what is the right thing to begin with. And then you need to practice this because you need to constantly reposition because stuff doesn't stay the same. Does that answer is that any questions on that? Thoughts?
Not a question maybe about that exactly, but something like just in general, like there are people who train for a lot of years, right? Like many years, and sometimes at that time there weren't that much technique and things like that. We just played and we thought what was right, we did it, right? So you've learned these things, these traits that you always do on the field, and then how do you tell this person to do that? Like it's really hard because they also play for many years, and how do you you kind of hit their ego a little bit.
Yes.
So how to teach people who are already playing for many years to change something about their game?
Yeah, it can be hard. I think the answer is maybe a bit similar to what we talked about the risky throwers, right? They don't maybe see it that way as somebody from the outsider does. So data helps a lot. So film, show it in film, talk about it in film, this is when it happened, this is what it happened, and explain what are the downsides of, look, if you're only looking at the disc, your player just goes away and the good throw, and then the throw just goes and there's a score. Or if you're just looking at the player, the disc just goes up, this player is just waiting until the last moment and then catches the disc. Show how this can be beaten, why is it so important to both see your offensive player and the disc. And then talk about it in video and then practice it in drills. But you have to have, of course, some authority related to that person. If that player is the most experienced player in a team and you are not even in the coaching group, I mean, it's really hard. So, but if you're already thinking about it, then probably chances are you will do fine in the coaching group, so get in the coaching group and then you can make it happen.
Cool.
Yes, good. Okay, so was that all? Yeah, so that's the last thing I had about defense, person defense. Any questions, thoughts, comments?
How do you choose where or when to divide your attention between the offensive players on the pitch, this where the disc is, and everything else your own person you are defending? So at the moment you want to know what your person is doing 100%, and whether this is maybe a tiny bit. So at the moment you want to be more aware for the people around you.
Yes.
So how do you choose when to divide the attention, or when
So,
to choose?
yes, good question. So I think when you're playing person-person defense, it starts with the person you're defending. You need to cover that. So you need to check that box first. You need to know where they are, and you need to be able to see them. And then, when you have sort of achieved that, then start looking for extra information. Then the next most important information is where is the disc. So that is sort of the next checkbox you want to have. So you are both aware of your player, and you are aware of the disc. And then the step after that is, okay, what are the other people doing, and where are the other cutters and the other defenders. But make sure you always see your player. Then, I think you can most of the time both succeed with seeing your player and the disc, even though sometimes you have to glance off the disc, but make sure you look very often where the disc is again. And only then start to observe where the other players are, if you are good on those two. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or your question is how to do
I
it?
think it's more sort of situational that I'm sort of trying to get an answer for. Is there's certain situations where you want to pay more attention to the disc, and there's certain situations where you want to be more active on the player you're marking. So sort of maybe there's a specific example that I don't have, but
I'm finding it hard to come up with an example where you would value knowing where the disc is more where your player is.
Zone defense, maybe?
In zone defense it could be, yes, but like in person defense. But maybe some of you hasn't, yeah.
I think sometimes it's obvious when your player has finished their cut and they're just going back to the stack. Obviously they can be tricking you, but it doesn't really happen that often. They're being really passive, they're just going back to the stack. Mostly then, at least I am focusing on the disc. Just to see whether I can maybe get a poach D or something.
That's a really good point. Yeah, what I talked before about whether your player is a threat. So of course, yeah, if your player is not a threat, then you can take away some attention from them, for sure. Yeah. Anything more on person defense indoor? No. Then I think we'll have a lunch break now. So we'll start up again at 2:30 here, and then we'll talk about offense. Thanks a lot. Enjoy the lunch.